Hi everyone, this is Brenda. Welcome to my little in-home movement room. I hope you've got a space at home that you can kind of carve out for yourself to stay active, keep moving while we're all stuck at home, or even just spending or enjoying more time at home. Today's video is a conditioning video, really great for my aerial students, but also great for anybody that's just looking to build a little bit of extra strength. So today is just a few of my favorite conditioning exercises. You don't need any special equipment, just yourself. You may end up liking a few blocks. I have 4, or you can find 4 objects that range anywhere from like 2 to 6 inches high. You might also end up liking a heavier object like a weight. So you'll find out more as I go through these little exercises. Grab what you need. Hope you enjoy the videos. This exercise is where we are really going to use our blocks, or as I said, you can use really any sort of prop or even like a little figurine that stands a few inches tall. Varying heights for varying challenge. So we're going to place the blocks. You can kind of set yourself up here on either side of your legs when they're out together in a nice pike position, and then leave a little gap for 2 more. Finding the right placement for you might take a minute, and changing height, right? So you might start with these on a lower height to begin with. So finding a nice strong body position, thinking about drawing your belly wall in so you've got a strong core and being really tall and supported. You can take fingertips to the side for these for a little bit of support. You might find that you lean back a little bit as you're first starting these. So as you try to give yourself more challenge, trying to avoid that lean back, but know that it's okay if you start with that. So fingertips for a little support, nice strong tall core, lifting outside of your first set of blocks. Right, you might take fingertips right in between for this next one, lifting to the outside. Right? Thinking about strong legs the entire time. Right? So my aerialists out there, you can think about pointing your toes all the way from the quads and just continue. Right? Maybe you do 5 sets, maybe it's 10. Maybe you decide that you need a little more challenge and you try setting your blocks or other objects up on a taller edge. Right? And remember to breathe while you're doing this. All right, that's our first exercise. So check it out. Maybe you start out with just a few reps and then build up each time that you try this out. Okay? This exercise is what I like to call a Sphinx plank. So those of you in my aerial classes, you might be very aware of this exercise. For others, this might be new. I like this as an alternative to a regular plank because it doesn't put pressure in your wrists, which can be a big barrier for people. I also like it because it doesn't really allow you to cheat. So setting up your Sphinx plank, you're going to be setting up in a Sphinx position. If you know from yoga, this is where you're on your forearms with your shoulders stacked right over the elbows. Right? And then feet for this, you would have just about as wide as you would normally have for a plank, except we're going to keep the tops of the feet down on the ground. Right? So you'll start here by just pushing your forearms down, right? And you should feel that little shift just by pushing the forearms down. And then think about drawing your belly wall in, so navel drawing towards the spine. And then like you're trying to zip up a coat that's way too tight, draw your ribs in, then push the tops of the feet down and lift. Right? And you should feel quite a bit of shake going on, quite a bit of work to make sure you're still breathing. Maybe you challenge yourself to sing the ABCs here. And if you start to feel like you're going to lose the integrity, you can drop your knees back down and lower it down. I like to take 3 sets of these. In any duration, maybe you sing the ABCs, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and when you're done with your 3, pressing back to a little child's pose to release, and you can wiggle out the hips as much as you need to. One more bit of core for you here. For this, if you like to use an object, any object at all, to do some little passes as we twist, you can find something, it could be lightweight to start with, or you might end up liking something weighted. We're going to start just by finding any strong boat pose, or for my yogis out there, Navasana. And for boat pose, the idea is balancing on your sit bones, right, and finding a little bit of a lean back with a nice strong core. You could have your toes to the ground for this, or up level by lifting your shins up parallel to the ground, making sure you're not collapsing back through the chest. And grab your object from there and twist and tap. Okay. Tapping on each side, maybe going for 10 on each side. And if you feel like you're going to start to collapse, you can take your toes right down to the ground and continue with those little twists, those little taps. Once you've finished, you can set your block aside. It might feel good to just stretch out over the legs, or to recline on back, bend the knees, give them a little hug, and take a little bit of a rock side to side. And if those start to feel good and you want a little more challenge, you can change out your block for a heavier object, maybe even a kettlebell if you're a fan of kettlebell exercises. Our next exercise is going to be strengthening for the hamstrings. Okay? And this is going to be really good for your knee hangs, aerialist. So if you want a stronger knee hang, especially working up to a single knee hang, these are going to be really good. If you have a slippery surface like a hardwood floor or vinyl floor, or have little sliders that you can put under your feet if you're working on carpet, that's going to be best for these. I like to do them in socks for a little bit of slide, and you'll start out just coming down to a position like you're setting up for bridge, feet right below your seat, and knees together for this one, right, which is a little different than your traditional bridge. You can take your hands right alongside and try to pull the ground towards you, which will help draw the shoulders down the back just a little, and then push your hips up towards the sky. Now really think about keeping this nice and open here, right, not hinging and letting the hips drop at all, but keeping it nice and open. So this movement may start out really small. I'm going to try to keep the knees together and slide your feet just a few inches out in front of you, and then try to bring your feet back in without letting the hips drop. Right? And you can start to challenge that a little bit, right? Going a little farther, drawing them back in. If you take your feet too far, you'll probably find that you're stuck and you have to drop the hips. So try to avoid that and make these really small but effective. The next variation, still keeping the knees together and the feet right below the seat, is to press your hips up into that bridge position and then lift one leg out. So the knees are still connected there at the same line, and trying to keep that nice lifted bridge. You should really be feeling this. And still trying to breathe as you take this exercise, and then switching legs when you're ready. Right? Keeping the knees in line, keeping the hips nice and lifted. And lower. Right? You can take a break between sets, and I recommend maybe doing 3 of each of these. Another one of my favorite things to work on are active leg lifts, while really using the entire leg to lift instead of letting the outer hip and outer thigh do all of the work. For these, you might use blocks or the edge of a chair, really anything to make it so you can take your hands down while you're folded over to give you a little bit of support. So I'll take my blocks right out in front of me here, just about maybe one of my feet's lengths in front of me. Folding forward so you can feel my hands nice and planted. It's okay if you have a little bit of a bend in the knees to start with these. And for my aerialists out there, you might like to start with your toes pointed just right back behind you. And we're thinking about keeping the toes pointed down, so a tiny bit of internal rotation as we really lift with the heel. Sorry, out of frame. So when we lift, one thing that tends to happen as we try to lift high, we tend to let the hip open up. So we want to avoid that here and see if you can really keep the toes pointed down and just lift your heel up towards the sky. Right? Taking 5 to 10 nice strong lifts. And then when you get to the top, right, pause there and see if you can pulse a little higher 5 to 10 more times. And if you feel that other heel trying to lift up off the ground, see if you can just really push it down and get a nice little stretch through that leg. Then you can lower down and rise on up. Take it to the other side. Right? And again, you might just do one set of those, or if it feels good, do another set, trying to keep form. I hope you enjoyed my first conditioning video. Found it maybe fun, maybe challenging, maybe a little bit of both. Stay tuned for more videos with some specific conditioning drills, as well as active flexibility training, and some nice yoga sequences. I'll be putting up some full classes. If you enjoy this content and you're able to give your support, any help is greatly appreciated. You can make a donation following the Buy Me a Coffee link at the bottom of the page, or even direct to my Venmo. Feel free to message me if you have any questions, anything at all, and hope to virtually see you soon.